Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining. All right, you guys, we are starting the embroidery of the month today. I'm on location at my parents', so here we go. So it'll be a little bit different tonight, but this is what we'll be stitching. And I have the kit right here, and let's open it up and get going. So thanks so much for joining me here. I will be here again tomorrow and we'll continue stitching this. So let's get this out. Okay. I am excited to start stitching this evening. We have so many fun fall colors that we'll be working with tonight. Got a little ribbon to decorate things later. Little how-to guide in the kits here. And here we go. So I'm going to have this nearby as I stitch. It has all the instructions and the stitch guides and stuff there. So it's on the back of, if you have the kit, it's on the back of your front page there. And I'm going to just have this nearby and let's get going here. Hello, everyone. Popping in. Okay, so there we go. I got the design already pre-printed on the fabric here. Got my embroidery hoop. Hope everyone is having a lovely start to their day. We had the most absolute beautiful fall day here today. It couldn't possibly have been nicer outside. Man, I could have like a zillion of those days, so let me know what it's like by you guys. I mean, I wore a sweatshirt for the first time today, so it's still cooler and everything, but man, it is that beautiful, beautiful fall. All right, we just about have this in the hoop. I'm just tightening it a little bit and pulling the edges a little just to have it kind of taut in here. I don't need it stretched, but there we go. All right, so there we're all set up. Let's see, where do we want to start with this tonight? I think I want to start with some of the chain stitch, some of the leaves. That would be awesome to do that right away. So I think, why don't we start with this big orange one? That's going to make it feel like we got a lot done right away, I think. Hey, Debbie, thanks for joining. So, all right, so these thick lines of the leaves, that is the chain stitch. So we have that there. It's right there. We'll go through a few different ways to do the chain stitch. And one other thing, we're using 3 strands of floss for this design. So embroidery floss. Oh, and the first one is this California poppy color. Embroidery floss typically comes with 6 strands, and we separate the strands to get different thicknesses of stitches. So this one is using 3 strands, which will make it like half as thick, our stitches, as with the 6 strands here. So I'm going to grab like 18 inches or so. We'll snip. Hello, Jan. Thanks for popping in. It's nice seeing everyone. I know it's a little different tonight. We are on location here again. All right, how I separate strands, I like kind of just tapping the ends just because then you can see it starts separating. And then I'll just grab them one at a time. So let's see if I can separate one. There we go. So one, and I'm gonna just hold it pinched in my fingers there, and we're just gonna pull it right out. It looks crazy, but it relaxes once I get that strand out. So let's do 2 more, because I need 3. Zoop. And it's pretty fast. Oh, yes. Hello, Robin and Sylvia. And yes, we got to see Chad, the kitty cat, today. He walked out. He hung outside with us all day today and walked around the neighborhood with us and stuff too, and through the woods a little bit, and it was nice. So we're here helping my parents winterize some things. So they're on a lake here, so we got the pier out and all the fun outdoor stuff today. Okay, so here we are. I am just going to snip the end so we have a nice, easy, clean end to thread our needle. All right, so I use the pinch method, so I'm just gonna squish my fingers together and slowly unpinch, and the moment I can see the thread, I'm gonna just push the needle over the top, the eye of the needle, grab the other end there. Okay, so we have no stitches on here yet, so I'm gonna use a method called the away knot to start stitching. Oh, Kimberly says, can you come help me winterize in upstate New York? It's wine country. Dang, that sounds so nice. Yeah, my parents, they texted, it's like getting colder. Can you help us with this pier? Because it did dip down the temperature this past week, like quite a bit. It all of a sudden just felt like fall. All right, so I think I'm gonna start here. And we'll go around this way with the chain stitch and with this orange color. But I like weaving in the ends of my stitches. So I don't have anything to weave in to the backs of the stitches yet because there's nothing on. So I'm gonna do this away knot. So again, this might look weird, but it'll make sense later. So I'm going from the front of the fabric to the back, and our little knot's gonna hang out there. And then I'm gonna just start. So I'm starting at the beginning of the row, beginning of the line here. Okay, and what we're basically doing, you can kind of see this thread on the back. We're reserving that thread for later. We will weave that in later. And so we'll have a nice clean back without any knots on it and stuff. All right, so a chain stitch. There's a few ways to do it. This is, I think probably the most common way. I'm gonna travel down this line, so I'm going in that direction. I'm gonna make like a little arc kind of around the area I'm gonna start going. I'm gonna actually hold it here with my thumb. Then I'm gonna put the needle back in the exact same hole, so back at our starting point. Bring the needle back a little, oops, there, and then you should have this kind of loop. I'm gonna come up like a stitch length away, which is about, an eighth to a quarter of an inch or so. It can be like really whatever size you want. It doesn't have to be even consistent, really. And I'm coming up right in the middle of the loop there. Oh, Hope. Yeah, feel free to ask any questions too. So I am happy to answer anything, and if you have questions. All right. So that was our first little chain stitch there. By putting the thread through the middle, it kind of stops that loop from going any further. So you don't need to pull this tight. If you don't pull that tight, then you'll have this nice little teardrop shape. Let's see if I can get real close there. So there we go, a nice cute little teardrop shape. This thread is coming out of the middle of that teardrop. So I'm gonna do my second one. So again, I'm gonna kind of make this loop, this circle around where my next stitch is gonna be. I'm gonna go in the exact same hole. So I'm in the inside of that teardrop. Oop, there we go. Inside of the teardrop, right in the same hole. We're gonna come down, and there's my little circle there. I'm gonna come up along the line. Another, a little bit more than an eighth of an inch. Probably a little closer to a quarter of an inch. There we go, right in the middle of my loop. We're gonna pull up, and my thread is gonna catch that loop. And again, I'm not gonna pull tight. I'm gonna leave it a little loose to keep that nice little arc shape. I think that's kind of fun. If you pull it really tight, I think we're all used to, like with sewing or anything like that, just like pull it tight and have all these tight, nice, clean stitches. But there are actually some stitches that you do wanna just be a little gentle with, like let it be a little loose. If you pull these stitches too tight, you're gonna have it's just gonna look like you have two lines next to each other. You're not gonna have that pretty arc. But there we go. So I'm gonna just keep going around this shape. I'm guessing I'll probably need another piece of thread to finish this leaf. And then I can show you a couple other ways to do this chain stitch. But this is the basic idea. You come up in that little circle, that little kind of arc that you're making. Yeah, this is one of my most favorite stitches. It is really pretty. I like it mostly because it reminds me of like crochet and knitting and all those other crafts that have a chain stitch. It's really fun. Ooh, I got a little funny loop in there. I'm just gonna loosen that a little bit. There we go. Okay, going back into that loop. And if you don't get right in your circle right away, you can just move the floss around it. I find it helpful to kind of hold the thread with my thumb as I go, just because, you know, I'm going into the same spot and I don't want to kind of push that thread back into it, into that hole. Oops, let's just loop around here. Oh, these are going to be such fun, bright fall colors. All right. I think I'm going to show you another way to do this right now already. So for this next way, I'm going to loosen the fabric in the hoop because it makes it a little easier. So you don't always have to have the tightest fabric in the hoop. But there we go. So now instead of, it's basically going to be the same thing. I'm kind of still making this arc, but this is called the sewing method. This last way I was doing it was called the stabbing method. The sewing method is when you bring the needle, so I'm going back in the same hole there, but when you bring the needle, put it in and out in the same motion. So I've gone in and out in the same motion, and I'm coming up in that circle still and pulling through. That's a nice, fun way. It's actually an easy and quick way to do this as well. It does work a lot easier. You can see I'm pushing up on my fabric a little bit. I can only do that because I'm a little more loose in the hoop here. The fabric's looser in the hoop, so that makes it easy to go in and out in the same motion, but I do like this way of doing it as well. Oh, you've never tried it like this before? I think a lot of older stitchers, or I mean stitchers who've been stitching like for zillions of years, I think this is the way that they often were taught, to go in and out of the fabric in the same motion. So I think it's maybe a more traditional way of doing it. It is fast, and you actually don't need a hoop to do it this way either. You can just kind of hold your fabric and stitch, which is kind of awesome. You'll see this pretty often on, you know, like vintage tea towels and that sort of thing. Sylvia says she was taught this way. So the weaving, or not the weaving, the in and out method. I think it takes a little bit of practice. It's not my normal way of doing it, so I still feel like I'm practicing when I do it, versus the stabbing method, which is again, bring it all the way through to the back and then all the way back up, like the needle, in two different motions. There are actually some stitches that work best using the sewing method, and this is actually one of them, I think. So all right, we're coming to a little kind of inner corner here. I'm going to, oops, so if you don't get it in that loop, you can just go underneath the needle like that. So this is a pretty sharp direction change for a chain stitch. So the thing is, if I would just start up this line, this next line, let's just see what happens. So I'm going to move my thread up here as if I'm stitching. You can see that this last stitch comes loose. So I don't really like that. So I like tacking it down before starting the next line, because this is such a drastic shift in direction. So what I'm going to do, and I do this at the end of the rows too. Oh, Sylvia says, I like when you did the reverse chain stitch. So we'll try that on another one of these leaves. We'll do a reverse chain stitch, which is awesome and super easy. It's another way to do this chain stitch. But all right, so I'm going to change direction. So I'm going to just put a tiny, tiny stitch on the other side of that loop. Just the itty bitty stitch, and that's going to hold down that loop. So that's not going to move anymore. So now I can just come back up in the middle of middle of that little teardrop shape again. Let's see if I can get it. Almost. Yeah, I think that's good enough. I think I missed one of the threads, but we're pretty good. So now I can actually start up the next section as if it's a new row almost, and that last stitch is not going to move at all because we've tacked it down. There we go. So we've switched directions here. There you go. I think I'm going to do the sewing method for the rest of this. I'm almost out of floss, you guys. This is actually kind of hard for me. I might actually move this in the hoop a little bit because I do like having the back of my hand. I like having my left hand being able to touch the backs of the stitches, but I'm stitching right in the middle of the hoop, so I can't reach it very well. I like being able to hold all the stitches a little bit better. So we're going to do in and out sewing method again. Get out of the way here. In and out. All right, so I'm not in the loop, so I'm just going to put that loop underneath. Ooh, losing thread. So we are going to switch. We're going to finish this floss up real soon. I think maybe I can get 2 more stitches out of it. 1. Yeah, let's get 1 more. All right, so I'm going to stop the floss right there. I could probably get 1 more out of it, but I think we'll stop right there. So to stop, I need to do another one of those little anchor stitches. So I'm just going right on the other side of that loop. And there we go, tacked it down with a tiny, tiny stitch there. All right, so now instead of tying a knot, I am going to flip it around to the back, and I'm going to actually weave in this end instead of tying a knot. So this is my favorite way of finishing a piece of floss and starting a piece of floss. I think without the knots, I don't accidentally catch my thread on those knots, which sucks. I hate doing that. This is kind of actually like tying a long knot. We're just going back and forth 3 times through as many threads as I can. And there we go. So that's all we're doing. And I can snip that complete thread off like right at the base of the stitches there. So there's no extra, oops, sorry you guys. There's no extra like fuzzles or strands anywhere on there. It's just super clean. All right, so we're gonna actually go back to this away knot that we did at the beginning. Oh, did my mic fail? Oh, I hope not. Can you guys still hear me here? All right, so I'm gonna snip that off. So I just cut the knot right off, that little knot. And what that did is it released that extra piece that we had. So there we go. So now I have, this was at the beginning, right? The beginning of our row. Oh, Kimberly says, okay, you guys can hear. Okay, good. Phew. All right, so I'm going to thread that. Oops, wrong side. Need the eye side. Oops, and I missed a bit there. So let's squish these together. Do that pinch method. There we are. All right, so now with this extra, like, I don't know, 3 to 4 inches here, I'm gonna weave that in as well. So it looks like, you know, oh man, you're wasting all that floss and stuff, but it's, you know, that's like 1/4 cent of floss. So it's not like a huge deal to waste like 2 inches of floss instead of tying a knot to have like that nice clean back, I think. Where my thread doesn't catch on anything, so it's your future, you're prepping for your future self, so your future self doesn't have to like accidentally catch your thread on the back of a ton of knots. And you really only have to do this the first time, that little away knot, because now to start up the next piece, the next part of the line, I don't have to do that away knot. I can just weave into stitches that are already here. But I didn't have any stitches yet, so we needed to reserve that bit of floss. All right, so I'm going to keep going with this bit. So we have our other half of our thread. Oh, you need to get better at not having the knots on the back. It's totally 100% fine by having knots on the back. the more I do the knots, the more I like catch my thread on the back, and it sucks. So like at the back of the thread, if you have a knot here and you've been stitching for, 40 stitches, and then you turn it around and you realize, oh my God, I have, all that floss there. That is the worst. So that's, once I got into this whole weaving in the ends, then I just full on went with it. I love it. Do you end after each French knot, or do I jump? Oh, Gretchen, I jump around. So Gretchen's asking, do I jump like from here to here? Yeah, I do. I don't really mind if you can see a little bit of the thread on the back. So here's one that I did already. So if you shine it up to the light, like if you backlight it, you can sort of see all the little jumps, but it's a light color, just straight on. You can't see it as much, just a little bit. But yeah, so I jump from stitch to stitch for that. So you can see me like crawling around this whole thing. I haven't really ever done a French knot where I start and stop it in the same place. It might be a little difficult. I'll have to look into that sometime, if there's a way to start and stop a French knot in one spot. But no, I'm totally jumping around all over the place. Okay, let's thread this guy. I could just, it's a little fuzzy, so I'm gonna just snip it to clean it up again. All right, and the pinch method again, just pinching, and as I unpinch, the moment I can see the thread, I'll just push my needle on top of it, keep pushing down. Ooh, I didn't catch that all that well, but I think I got it. Oh no, I missed one. Sheesh Louise. All right, let's try that again. Pinch, and as I unpinch, just stick that needle on top. There we go. If that's not working, just like clean it up again, snip off that end. Maybe there's an extra little fuzzle there. All right. All right, let's start this up again. So I'm going to weave in the ends. So again, I'm not gonna do a knot. I'm gonna actually weave in the ends. We're gonna go back and forth 3 times. So I'm actually gonna start back a little, and I'm gonna go towards where I wanna start, which is right there. So I'm gonna go 1, I'll just leave a little end there. You can cut that off. 2, I'm just gonna try and grab as many threads as possible, because you gotta pretend that you're kind of like tying a long knot. So you need to like grab things to hold on to, basically. All right, and 3. So 1, 2, 3, and the third one, I'm back to where I want to start. And this, if there's any little excess like that, you can just leave it. It's totally fine. But I just snip it so I don't accidentally like pull it to the front when I'm doing a stitch. But there we go. So we are all set to do our next little round of chain stitches. And I think I'm going to keep going with that sewing method just because it's nice and fast. So I'm going to loosen the fabric in my hoop a little bit. It's way easier with the fabric a little looser. And I'm going to come up inside that last teardrop shape. So there we go. There's my anchor stitch, and I'm coming up in that teardrop, like towards the, loopy part of it, the bulbous part of that teardrop. And that's where I'm going to start. And I'm just going to go, so in that same spot, and out again for my first stitch, and that's going to cover up our little anchor stitch that we made earlier. There. So now no one can even tell that I started and stopped there. So did you say what the 5 symbols on the floss paper? Oh, that's I'll have to look at that again. It's the washing instructions. I have to totally look up what all those things mean again. It's basically that you can iron it. I think the 2 dots mean on like cotton setting. Oh my God, it's a whole code. I'm gonna have to look it up again. But that's a good question. I will. That's one of those things that if I'm not thinking about it every day, I can't ever remember what it is. But I'll look that up. I think it's like 1 is like washable, and oh my God, I will look that up for you though. That'd be a good thing to do a blog post about even. That's something I always have to look up for washing stuff. But yeah, it's all the care instructions. But it is cotton color fast embroidery floss. So basically whatever you can do with cotton and color fast things, you're gonna be good. But I will look that up. I have it written down somewhere. It's just one of those things. Always forget all those guys. All right. So I'm getting a little twisty here. Sometimes when you do certain stitches, it makes you're always turning in the same direction with the floss, so it twists it up. I'm just gonna let it dangle for a sec, and that'll help me out. And actually, this sewing method I've found twists my thread a little bit more. Like it gets a little, just unruly a little bit faster. I think it has to do, again, with like the twisting. I think when you do the other method where you're pulling all the way down and all the way up, it gives it a chance to untwist. Replay, this looks amazing, but absolutely difficult to do. I promise you it's a lot easier than you think. What we kind of say is if you can color, you can embroider. We have tons of tips and instructions, and we even have like some free patterns and stuff, a free stitch sampler on our site with instructions that guide you, like videos that guide you through each stitch. And so it really is easy. Once you just start, you just follow the line and that's it. You learn a stitch or two, follow the line. All you need is a needle and fabric and thread. You don't even need the hoop. Hoop is helpful, but you don't need it. And it's just so relaxing. All right, I'm gonna let that untwist a little bit. It's perfect binge watching craft. I always say it's like a 2-movie craft. Maybe like a 2 Marvel movie. Like if you're doing this sort of just an outline thing like this. And the cool thing about embroidery is you can get as simple or as crazy, in-depth, artistic, difficult as you want it to be. Like we could actually fill in all of these leaves with stitches, and we could do like a gradient from one color to another. Like you can get like really hefty into it. Or you could just stitch the outlines, which is my go-to. And you could just stitch the outlines with all the same stitch too. You don't even need to know more than one stitch. I just think it's really fun. And you actually can color. You could actually color these in with colored pencils and set it with an iron and then stitch on top of it too, which is kind of fun. So it's just a really flexible, fun craft, I think. Easier than you think, I bet. We are starting with a little more, not a difficult stitch, but there's some easier stitches than this. And we'll do some of that. We have like the back stitch and just some little straight stitches in this piece too. And I'm always here stitching stuff, working on stuff. I'm here every evening, every weekday, so I'm always up for questions. All right, again, I'm like right in the middle of the piece and it's hard for me to grab everywhere. Dang, this is getting twisty. It is twisty because I'm doing that sewing method. Let's try the other way for a sec, where I go down and then we'll come up in a different motion. That does help, I think, a little bit. Sometimes my stitches get a little bit smaller when I go around tight curves and stuff like this. And that's fine. Stitches don't have to be all the same length. I think this might be my last stitch, or maybe I'll have enough to go around the top of this leaf. That'd be nice to kind of start on a straightaway like this. Man, so I'm using, that'll be the next thread will be our 3rd thread, so it's going to take 3 at least to get around this. All right, I think I can get one more and then I'll weave in the ends. Okay, so again, to finish that row, I got to put that tiny little stitch to hold down that loop. There we go. So holding down that last loop, and now we can flip it over and we'll weave in the end. I can jump over here and maybe weave into some of these. 1, 2, I always go 3 times. That third one kind of locks it in. Get as many threads as I can. Okay, and snip that away. Let's see what we got so far. Cute. All right, it's coming along. I love this chain stitch. It makes like a fat stitch. So we're gonna have like these nice, fat, colorful leaves, and then like the acorns will be a little thinner. The little like vein down the middle here, that's gonna be a little bit thinner because we'll be using a different stitch. But this chain stitch, because you have that loop, you have like a stitch on this side and that side basically, or a thread on 2 different sides. So you have like double width, which is kind of fun. I like it. All right, let's grab more of that orange. Because this is the only orange in the whole piece, this leaf, so we probably don't need that much more. But whatever. I'll cut my normal like 18 inches or so. I'll always use it for something else if I have extra. I like making little pom-poms out of my leftover floss. All right, 1. Okay, we're just separating the strands so we have a thinner stitch ultimately. So 2 strands. Just trying to isolate a single strand here. This embroidery floss is made for this purpose. Like it's made to easily separate. So the strands want to come apart. So if you're trying to stitch with all 6 strands and you're frustrated because they keep trying to come apart, they're designed to do that. So it'll give you a different thickness of floss. Like if you stitch with 1 thread, that's going to be thinner than stitching with all 6 from the 6 strands. So I like right in the middle, right at 3. Sometimes I stitch with 2. If I have a more delicate piece, then I'll stitch with 2. Then my line will be a little thinner. All right, let's clean up that end again. All right, and I'm just gonna kind of squish those strands together. There we go, and again, I'm gonna do that pinch method, so I'm just pinching those strands in my finger there, and unpinch, and drop my needle over the top there, and that usually does the job to thread it. There we go. So just a reminder, so I have a little change in schedule again, you guys. Not really schedule, but location. So I was going to be home. So everyone, I know a lot of you guys watching on YouTube are normal Facebook watchers. So I am going to be on YouTube again tomorrow and not Facebook. So, which means I'm actually going to be on location here one more day. We need got one more task to do here. Oops, shoot. I didn't go through. I went through the exact same spot that I came out of there, which is silly. But we have another task to do, help my parents with tomorrow. So I'll be here one more day. And so I'll be here on YouTube and TikTok tomorrow as well. So no Facebook again. That's what I'm basically saying. But Wednesday I'll be back on Facebook, as well as TikTok and YouTube. Back at home. So one more day here. So one more day of seeing Chad kitty. That'll be nice. Such a good kitty. He's a good outdoor kitty. He lives in the woods basically. And watches People TV all day. He just, there's a little window at the bottom of my parents' door, and he just stands at the window and looks in. He doesn't even really want to come in. He'll come in for like 2 seconds, but he's more an outdoor wander around kitty cat. He's a working cat basically, so like a farm cat. but he's such a good kitty. All right. Anyway, so one more day of, it'll be nice to see my parents for one more day too, but get to see Chad Kitty one more day. All right, there. I'm doing that anchor stitch again there just because I'm changing the direction really sharply. So it's almost like I'm starting a new row. So I ended it with just that tiny, tiny anchor stitch. And then we'll come back up in on the inside of that loop. And we're almost done with this feller. Okay, back in the loop. All right. This is such a bright, fun color. I think all the colors on this time are really fun. Like this celery is super bright and pretty with this, and yeah, I just think it's very autumny and rich and yummy. I really like this palette. But yeah, so we'll be stitching. Oh yeah, John says, John's over on YouTube. John says, Chad went on a mile-long walk with us today. He just he likes trailing. Oh yeah, John says he follows behind. Yep, he likes trailing behind about 15 feet. He likes seeing what's gonna happen. He's so funny because he kind of he's sensitive to sound. Like if he hears something, he'll freak out a little bit, like a big, whatever, something unexpected or a weird noise that he doesn't know. He'll freak out for a few seconds and then he'll like forget about it. Like you'll just call him back and he'll be like, "Oh, okay, I'm coming that way." Like he'll forget that there was a real sound. We kind of determined today that he's freaked out by things, but he still has a fear of missing out. So he'll stick around and see what's happening, but if he hears a goofy sound, he's gonna run 10 feet away and then he'll come back. But he's so sweet. He has to come rub against everyone who he sees when he comes and visits. He's like, "Okay, I own all of you." He's sweet. He'll talk to you. His little meows. Anyway, it's always fun to see Chad Kitty. And now he's ready for winter, so he's all poofed up. I'm not saying what next month embroidery is yet, Jen. All right, here's the last stitch here. But dang, it's coming up. It's already going to be November soon, you guys. Geez, one more week, really, right? This week and one more week. All right, so I need to do that anchor stitch. So this week, we are going to be working on this all week. I'm going to weave in the end here. Tell us, John, says Sylvia. I actually brought my hand-delivered it to my mom early because I wasn't sure if I was going to be here like on the 1st of November or something. So Mom did actually get her November embroidery of the month a bit early. Earlier than she shoulda. She's lucky like that. All right, so weaving in the ends there. But yeah, so we'll be stitching this all this week. So I'm here an hour in the evening every day. So we'll be stitching this all this week. And then next week, we're going to be sewing it. We're going to turn it into a zipper pouch. So we'll put a fun little zipper on the top. Maybe we'll make it a little stouter, like maybe less square. I don't know. So maybe we'll do it something like that. Thanks, John. Funny. My husband's sending me money over YouTube here. All right. So there we go. We got the orange one done, but I think it's going to be really fun to stitch that zipper pouch. And, it's awesome to turn the embroidery into something, and who doesn't need a little zipper pouch? So I'm pretty excited for that. So that's this week and next week is stitching this up and the zipper pouch. And then it's the next month, we'll be sending out our next embroidery of the month. All right, you guys, what should we do next? Let's see. Well, maybe we do this green and I can show you the reverse chain stitch. That'd be kind of fun. So let's do that. So I'm gonna get some green. So we did the chain stitch here, the stabbing method, which is where you go all the way in and all the way out, and then the sewing method, which is in and out in the same motion. Now this is gonna be a reverse chain stitch. One of the differences, I mean, it's literally like you're doing the stitch in reverse. So I'm gonna get some thread here. But one of the differences also is that your stitches look like it's going in the other direction, but we don't really need to worry about that. So, all right, I'm trying to separate my threads. Okay, there's one, zoop. 2, and 3. Okay, let's get these together. Grab my needle. All right, and we're gonna just weave in the end. So I'm gonna start here. I'm gonna just weave into the backs of these stitches. So even though I'm starting a new color, I don't have to do that away knot again. I can still just weave into stitches that are already there, which is nice. So we'll go up this way. Tomorrow we'll stitch some acorns. I know, I think someone mentioned to stitch acorns next. We'll just finish up that whole like chain stitch stuff. Your husband packed your lunch and put some money in baggies for you. That's funny. That's really cute. All right, weaving in those ends. I can flip around. All right, so with a reverse chain stitch, you know how we end our row with like that tiny little anchor stitch? We're gonna actually start with that stitch. So I'm going to just make the teeniest little stitch right at my starting point here. So I'm just gonna kind of hold this down out of the way. So I'm just gonna go like the tiniest little back stitch really. So it's there we go, it's itty bitty. And I'm gonna just kind of leave a little bit of a loop here. There, kind of like that. Actually, let's just pull it all the way in. There, here's my stitch right there. You can see it, it's super little. All right, so I'm gonna actually come up a stitch length away. So this is the reverse chain stitch. And for my first stitch, I'm gonna actually go through that beginning tiny stitch, come out the other side. I'm still on the top of the thread. Or the fabric, I haven't gone to the back. And now I'm gonna go back in that same hole that we started with here. And that's my first reverse chain stitch. So you can see we got our little loop going here, but we just looped through that anchor stitch. So we're doing it backwards really. So here's my next stitch. I'm gonna come up. I'm actually gonna go behind both of those stitches, right like that, come out the other side, and then go back in the same hole there. So there we go. There's our second little loop. We are literally doing it backwards. And the nice thing about this is I don't have to futz with making that whole big loop like this. So it's actually so much easier, I think. Everything stays cleaner, and you're not flopping your whole piece over, like all over the place. So I do actually really, 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 really enjoy the reverse chain stitch. I like showing how to do the like traditional chain stitch first, just because I think that's probably how most people kind of are introduced or just like see it. But I quickly like to get into this reverse chain stitch because it is just easy and fun. I love it. This is a lot of little tight corners. Chain stitch isn't always the best for super tight corners. So if your stitches pull up a little bit on each other, that's totally fine. I think it looks okay. So this right here is a pretty big shift in direction. So I could kind of anchor, or I could like kind of start fresh in the other direction, but I think I'm going to just kind of keep going with the loops. So I think we'll finish this leaf tonight and probably call it an evening here. And tomorrow we could start up with like the acorns and maybe some of these veins of the leaves. So those are completely done. We still got this big leaf to go yet, but we can still do that at some point. It'll get done. Oops, I'm almost out of, gotta pull my thread a little bit longer here. There we go. I think it's even supposed to be nicer. Well, maybe not nicer tomorrow, but it's gonna be nice. In those tight turns, I make another little anchor stitch and keep going. Lynn, that's a great suggestion. So Lynn's saying that she just anchors it down and then just keeps going. So yeah, so that would hold that stitch in place. Yeah, because those little inside loops are a bit tricky. So it's a little weird in the reverse chain stitch to do those things, like adding a quick little anchor stitch. So that's a little bit different for this reverse way of doing it, but it's fine still. Oh, Jen says, I really like the colors of the floss. Yeah, I think this particular grouping for this autumn leaves thing, the autumn sparkle, I think it's especially fun. Like this orange is so bright and against this green is just like, I like that color combo. Oh, and says you can't even see the little anchor stitch. Yeah, that's awesome on those turns. So we'll do that here because this is a definite corner. Oops. Threads got pulled a little funny there. Oh, Robin says beautiful colors. I love them too. Thanks. All right. So we are back around here, and now I'm gonna have to to switch directions on the reverse chain stitch, I do have to make another little anchor stitch. So I'm gonna do that here, a tiny little anchor stitch. And then I'm gonna continue this new direction. So I'll have to do that again here. Actually, I might have to start a new piece of floss by then. So going through that anchor stitch. I think it's looking so sweet so far though. Uh-oh, geez, my thumb caught the needle there and pulled all my threads out. I'm gonna actually snip a nice clean end. So we have a few more stitches left in this thread. Thanks, Darlene. I think this is a fun design. Oh, Robin says, I have my pattern, but I'm behind on getting fabric ready to get started. Oh, well, we'll be here. I mean, we'll be working on this project all next week too. So this week is the stitching, and next week we'll be sewing it into a zipper pouch. So I mean, tons of time to work on it yet for sure. All right, I think I'll go to the end of this little row here. I think we can get maybe, yeah, we'll do 2 stitches. I'm like, could I do one big long stitch, but let's do 2. And then I'll get a new piece of thread and we'll finish up this leaf. Nice stopping point right at the point. So we don't have to do anything special to end the reverse chain stitch. That's it. We just finish our stitch. We don't have to do another anchor stitch or anything because it's already being held down there. So all right, let's flip that around. Ooh, look at that nice back stitch it makes on the back. That looks great. Weave in those ends. 1, 2. Oh man, you guys, we made pasta from scratch. Mostly my mom, but I helped. Pasta from scratch for dinner this evening, and holy cow, that was like so good. It was pasta, and then we cooked salmon and put it in there too. Dang, it's nice coming here. So just a reminder for YouTube people, I'll be on location again tomorrow here at my parents' house. So I won't be on Facebook again tomorrow. So just I'll be here one more day. We extended it one more day here. So you can find me right where you're seeing me now tomorrow. All right, zoop, zoop, and then this little bit right in there. I think we should be able to do that and then finish it up. Oh, Robin says, oh, I found a pasta maker at my dad's. Oh, I didn't even know it was in the cabinets. Oh, funny. Yep, we've been playing around with it more and more. We've made crackers, and I say we, I mean aiding my mom. And making crackers with it before, and but dang, that pasta, and I don't eat pasta very often, and holy cow, was it just delicious. It was a super duper duper yummy treat. I'm gonna snip these little ends off here. There we go. All right, let's do another little anchor stitch here and finish this kind of reverse chain stitch on this leaf. All right, that was our anchor stitch. Get through there. You can go through either way, it doesn't matter, from the left or right. Oh, Robin says, I've never made homemade pasta, hence why the pasta maker is still in the box. I never knew about it. Oh, funny. Yeah, so it was just like an egg and flour, I think, basically, that made it. I mean, I don't know all that stuff. I don't know the how to make the dough, really. But I think literally I think it's just an egg and flour. I actually don't have any flour. We don't do anything with flour ever, so I don't think we even own any flour. That's what we come here for, all the yummy foods. All right, a few more stitches on this, and then I think we got like maybe 3 stitches over here. We'll just jump over there. And this green is done too. I think this is it for this green. Just this pretty little leaf. Oh, all the leaves right now. I don't know what it's like by you guys. You'll have to let me know, but all the leaves right now look like this. They're all just, they're all at the different stages of changing color. You know, some are still green, some have this bright red, bright orange colors, and some are already kind of like the yellow colors. It's pretty. It's just, it was just the most beautiful day out today. All right, that was kind of a big stitch, but that's okay. All right, I need to make a tiny anchor stitch here. I have one more stitch worth to do. Just kind of tucked in right here. Oops. There we go. All right, and I think for this one I'll just do some forward stitches. See, I don't have to deal with this loop if I'm doing the reverse chain stitch, but I think we'll just do a few here and probably call it an evening already. It's already been, we're getting to an hour already. All right, last stitch here. And then, of course, our little anchor stitch. There we are, cute. All right, let's weave in the end, and that'll be that for tonight's progress. Not too shabby, I don't think. I just love that chain stitch, it's just so pretty. All right. Let's snip that, and we're completely done with that green. So we're already 2 colors done already on this guy. That's always kind of fun. All right, so like so, both of our little chain stitches there. I think they are just so bright and pretty and fun. All right, so yeah, so tomorrow, yeah, I think it'd be fun to do some of these little acorns. We can get the little stem, or the, you know, what is that, little vein, little leafy vein in there. We'll probably do all these little sparkles and that sort of stuff last. Kind of do the the middle area first. But yeah, I think we can get like all these dark acorn parts. Maybe we'll start with like these stems. We could kind of do that. Just do this one, get that out of the way. Even this one over here. And then kind of dig into here. Then we'll have some threads to weave into when we do the dark. That's probably a good idea. All right, awesome. I'm ready to keep going on this tomorrow. So this will be the whole week, I think it'll take to work on. And one final reminder, I will be here tomorrow on YouTube and TikTok. I will not be on Facebook again, but after that, I will. So one more night like this. So awesome, you guys. Thank you so much. I appreciate you being here. And I will see you tomorrow. Be sure to get the PDF if you want to keep working on this with me this week. Awesome. Thanks, you guys. Good night.